All right, folks, we're starting laying down tonight. We're going to let the whole back kind of smoosh onto the floor. So close your eyes. And here we are. Really, any kind of lying down posture is great. Just make sure it's really comfortable and it allows you to fully relax. And if you spend a lot of time sitting or using your lower body today, you might like a little bend in your knees, and then you could try knocking your knees together a little bit to release any tension you might have collected in your low back. And finding really big breath in and out. Slow breath in. Slow breath out. And keep your breath just like this, nice and slow. And we want to imagine big, expansive front body, side body, all the parts on the inhales getting big and expansive. And with the exhale, everything pulls in towards center. Everything pulls in. So keep breathing just like this. Each wave of breath allows you to take a little bigger inhale and a little deeper exhale. Enjoy and cultivate that roar sound in your ears, that ujjayi or victorious breath. And as you breathe deeply like this, not only are you hopefully calmer and more present, just being with your body in this way, but also you're feeling your torso get warmer. You're feeling the tissues expanding, contracting, moving, all the fluids getting massaged, all the tissues getting lubricated in your rib cage and your back. And you might like a little bend in your elbows here, tucking your shoulder blades underneath you. You can get that nice big heart, big spacious chest as you press down slightly into your arms. And then start to really dig into that arm pressing down feeling. How would it feel if you really pressed your shoulder blades, the backs of your hands, everything down into the floor? Notice how you can breathe more deeply into your chest. And we'll start to move the lower body here. So the upper body is grounded and stabilized. Let's start to windshield wiper the legs out, side to side. So we can keep the feet far away and close together. Or we can start to pull the feet closer in toward the hips and far away from each other. So you can kind of play with what feels nice there. Okay, gently at first, maybe a little more active as the hips begin to warm up. So you can keep your eyes closed here. Hopefully my words are sufficient so that you can just relax your eyes and listen. Okay, as the tissues begin to really warm up in your hips and low back, you can start to really engage your knees downward. So really opening up inner hip, outer hip, lower back. Okay, and next time, your knees point up, pause there, and then really knock them together again. Let them rest. Let's start to move the upper body a little bit more. So flipping your palms up at the ceiling, if they weren't already, hover them just off the ground. So hovering arms reach back with a big breath in. Keep your arms low and hovering as you exhale and pull the elbows down towards your hips. So keeping the palms facing up. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, pull your elbows down. So let's go maybe, 3 or 4 more times, just like that. Feeling your shoulders and your back wake up. All right, next time the arms reach out, pause there. You can rest the backs of your hands on the ground and reach out your legs. So make yourself super long. Reach out through all your fingers and toes. And then see if you can feel a slight downward engagement in your belly button, especially if you notice it lifting and kind of bowing up toward the ceiling. Point your tailbone at your toes and try to keep your tailbone tucked so that your belly button's moving down. And we'll take a little side bend here. So what would happen if you reached out a little more through the right hand and a little more through the right foot? Okay, reaching through the right side, maybe a little complementary contraction in the left side, pulling that belly button down. We can deepen this into kind of a banana shape or a crescent shape by moving both feet out to the left until maybe you hook the right heel over the left. And moving both arms out to the left. Maybe the left hand holds the right wrist, like I'm demonstrating here, and you move it over to the left, just off the floor. Take some big breaths into the right side here. You feel all that spreading open. Engage your belly button downward. And breathe. Okay, feel the whole right side. Back, chest, armpit, hip, IT band. Okay, as you're ready, allow yourself to come back through center. And we'll take it to the other side. So reaching out a little bit more through the left hand and a little bit more through the left foot. Find a complementary contraction in the right side. And ground that belly button. Try to pull it down. Maybe walk your feet really far out to the right. Cross the left ankle this time on top. Maybe the arms go to the right. And the right hand can grab the left wrist. Put it on the floor and pull it over to the right. Big breath into your left side. Where do you notice this side opening? Could your neck be a little longer? Could your breath be a little deeper? All right, and bring that back into center. Come on back. Okay, one more stretch out here, nice and long. Big breath in. And then pull that belly button down as you exhale and pick up your left leg and your right arm. Okay, you're thinking of touching the left leg somewhere with the right hand. And yes, of course, you can bend the left knee if that makes it easier, if you feel any strain, okay? So inhaling back to the floor. Other side, as you exhale, right leg, left arm, tap. Inhale, lower back to the floor. Let's do a few more times like that. Exhale, one arm and leg up. Inhale, bring them down. Exhale, other opposite arm and leg. Inhale, bring it down. Now you can make this more gentle by bending the knees, or if you are someone who likes a little bit more spice, you can hover your arms and legs up off the mat instead of resting them on the floor. But make sure your low back is okay with it, okay? We're always concerned with the low back being neutral and safe. Maybe 2 or 3 more times on each side. Engaging your core a little bit. And getting your abs a little bit warm. This will allow your low back to release more readily. Last one. And come on down. Release all that effort here. And then bring in your knees, give them a hug. You can maybe start by having your hands behind your thighs, interlaced perhaps, or you could grab your shins or interlace there. It's really up to you. But either way, press your shoulder blades down, really press them down. See if you could ground them completely. And really grounding and imprinting that back body down. Could you release a bit across the front body? Really squeeze the knees in. Giving your hip creases a nice massage. Maybe one more breath right here. And then release your feet back to the floor. Okay. So we'll start to wake up the back of your body even more here. And feel free to always modify and interpret the suggestions I'm going to give you, okay? So make sure before we come up into our bridge, before we leave the floor, we want to activate the core just enough, just so that it's very effective and safe. So don't feel like you have to crank it and give it a lot of effort, but just imaginary tennis ball between your knees here. So put that imaginary tennis ball between your knees and feel that when you move the knees toward each other to hold the tennis ball, your core engages and your legs feel very strong. So keep that. Look at the ceiling and lift your hips up. Keep the knees moving toward each other. Let's think of rolling the hips, rolling the spine all the way down. So we can inhale up, one vertebra up at a time. Exhale down, one vertebra down at a time. And really exaggerate this, make it almost kind of cartoonish and ridiculous how slowly you roll up, how much more slowly you roll down, and the knees always move toward each other. Always looking up so that the back of your neck never touches the floor. All right, so come on up and let's hold right there. So please hold, the hips are high. Try this, try joining your hands underneath you, interlacing your fingers, and maybe scooching your shoulder blades underneath your heart. Think of pushing the floor down and lifting your chest. Big breaths into your very huge chest as you point your nose up. If you feel like you want to walk your feet closer to your hands, go for it. Maybe even see if you can tickle your heels with your knees just over your ankles. And maybe one more big breath in right here. And when you're ready to come down, let's see if we can do one vertebra at a time. Really slowly roll it down. All right. As your hips finally land, take a few more windshield wipers. Hopefully feeling some nice warmth all over. All right, my friends, from here, tuck your hands behind your knees. And let's rock and roll a few times. So just a little gentle roll up to balance on your hips, maybe with the help of your toes or not. And then rolling it back. So rock it up, little balance, practice, and roll it down. Maybe 2 or 3 more times. Make it really fluid and controlled. Do your best. And the next time you rock up and you're ready to balance, go ahead and drop your feet. Point your knees to one side, your toes to the other, and I'll meet you on hands and knees. So hands and knees, little tabletop posture. We can combine this with a really lovely wrist stretch. So check it out. You can flip your palm up towards you with your fingers pointed back at your knees. And one hand might be enough, okay? Two hands might be just right, so please try out one or two. And then we'll take some cat-cows. So move your heart forward on the inhale. Think of pulling your heart forward between your arms as you lift your belly. Then on the exhale, push the floor away. Think of rounding your spine, letting your head hang. Okay, let's take several more rounds of cat-cows. Peeling open your front body on the inhale. And your back body on the exhale. Keep it going. And I want to encourage you to kind of roll side to side. It doesn't just have to be front to back. Roll around and find some sore spots that you need to kind of open up and roll into. Next time you pull your heart forward into your cow posture, hold there for a few breaths. Keep pulling back on your hands. So really send your heart forward. Lift your heart. Keep breathing. Lift that belly button. One more big breath in. And exhale here. Push the floor away. Round into your cat posture. Perfectly rounded spine. This time, open up the back of your body. Open up between your shoulder blades. And then let it go. Come on back to a flat back. If you had your wrists still stretching out, go ahead and unfold them. Whew. And let's get off of our hands and knees for a moment. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, walk your hands back to your feet. And we'll just hang here for a little while. So feel free to really bend your knees really deeply. And our goal here is to let the upper body really hang. So the feet can be wide, the knees can be bent. Our main concern is the heart hanging low by the knees? So that you're looking all the way behind you. And we want to feel the spine get a little longer here. From here, you might enjoy joining your hands behind your back and moving them away from your shoulders. Try to keep the palms close together and the elbows a little bit far apart. And then maybe move your shoulders, your left shoulder, real close to your left knee. Bend a little bit more into your left knee and extend a little bit more into your right. And see if you could just let your left shoulder kind of rest on your left knee. And look under that right shoulder. Take a few breaths here. Let your spine hang. And then we'll shift over to the right, bending into the right knee more, extending more into the left. Right shoulder to right knee. Look to the left, and then out under your left shoulder. Big breath into that left side. And then bring it back into center, all the way down to hands. Here, hands walk forward, and we're back on hands and knees. All right, so hopefully a lot of length in the back now. Letting the head hang like that is super therapeutic for your spine, which usually exists in a very compressed state. So tractioning out is super effective. Well, let's get the right knee up and start to circle the big movements in the hip. Do your best to keep your hips level for now. So not allowing the right hip to pop up. And keep your belly button lifted. Let's rewind this. Just pull it back the other way. Okay, now lift the right hip. So allow the right hip to stack over the left to make a really big, kind of ridiculous circle with your knee. And rewind it back the other way. Okay, and then let's send this right foot forward. Plant it outside your right hand. And then we'll take a little rockin' and rollin' back and forth here in the hips. Okay, find if you'd like to change the distance between your feet. Okay. And when you pull forward, enjoy the hips moving towards your hands. When you pull back, enjoy the toes pointing at your nose, the right toes pointing at your nose and opening up the back of your leg. So next time you come forward, let's just pause here. And now that we moved the hip joint around a little bit, and the leg, that right leg and left hip, we can sink down a little bit more. So I want you to kind of take your time here. You have plenty of time. If you have a block, you feel a little bit too close to the floor with your hands, you can come up on your fingertips or a block. And if you want to sink down into it, you can come down on your elbows. But no matter where you decide you want to be, make sure your hips are level with the mat. So usually that means you'll have to move them a little bit to the right because they'll tend to move to the left. And also keep pressing the floor down with your legs. So our legs are not active, are not passive, but active here. Feel free to let your head hang. And we'll spend a few more breaths here. So notice how your low back is feeling right now. Hopefully some really nice release in your right side of your low back. From here, I'm going to give you some options that you can play with. So always feel free to take some and let the rest go. If you're on your elbows, you can stay on your elbows. And if you're on your hands, you can stay on your hands. It's fine either way. But start to look over at the left or right knee and see if you can take the right hand to the inner right knee and gently press it away. So just decide if that's something you want to experiment with right now. If everything's going great there and you feel like you could look out over that right shoulder, then try bending your right, your left toes. Try bending your left toes and pointing them up. And then you can play around with reaching back with your right hand and grabbing that left foot. So if you have the foot and it feels great, you can roll around on your quad of that left leg. So the top of the thigh, close to where your knee is. Okay, you can find some nice, maybe tension to roll out if you just kind of waggle side to side. Okay, nice little stretch. If you're a runner or a cyclist, you might feel this a lot. All right, from there, let that go. If you had that back foot, all hands down in front, under your shoulders. And we're going to bring it back to hands and knees. So from here, take the right knee back. And again, we'll get off of our hands and knees for a moment. So tuck your toes, lift your knees, and walk your hands all the way back. Another forward fold here. So take a moment. This time maybe your feet are a little closer and maybe your knees a little bit more extended. Who knows? Sway and hang. So you can join your hands behind you as we did before, or you can hug your legs. You can put your hands on your calves, gently bend your knees, and pull your knees towards your heart. So make sure it feels good. Make sure the back of your neck is hanging softly. It should feel nice in the backs of your legs and all the way up and down your spine. So heading back down to hands and knees here, hands back to the floor. Walk them forward, back on hands and knees. And we'll get the left knee up and circle it out. Let's keep the hips level with each other for now. So resist the temptation to lift that left hip. Keep it even with the right. Notice if you feel a little bit limited, if you can't lift the hip, that's okay. Rewind it. And now really pick the hip up. So allow the left hip to come up and over the right. Big, ridiculous circles. And rewind it. Using all of the hip you have. Okay, next time the left foot comes forward, plant it outside your left hand. And we'll take some time to move the hips back and forward. It can be up on your fingertips if that makes it more spacious, or a block. Okay, but start to flex those left toes towards your nose when you pull back. Feeling the back of the leg opening up. Okay, next time you come forward, we'll sink into this little low lunge. So palms down maybe fingertips or block, maybe elbows down. It's really up to you guys. So comfortable is key. Hips are level. There's a gentle resistance of the legs pressing down into the floor. Nothing crazy, but some gentle resistance there. We always want to work just hard enough in these postures. We want to work smart instead of always working hard. So sometimes just a little bit of effort in a posture can allow you a whole lot of ease and release. I think that lunges are a perfect example of that. So you can stay here in this lizard lunge, or you can start to rock over into the right elbow, some extra weight, and look to the left. Left hand to the left knee, can gently press it away. Decide how you feel about that. Possibly experiment with looking over that left shoulder and waving at yourself with your right toes. Maybe the left hand comes back for the right foot. And then if you have the right foot, you could pull it in towards your glute and roll around on the kneecap end of your quadriceps. Feels nice. You can kind of find some little tense places to roll out. Remember, you're still gently resisting the floor. All right, always active. And as you're ready, we'll release this. So come on out. All hands down. And back up to hands and knees. Okay, from here, one more time. I'll get you up off your hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Lift your hips. Walk your hands back to your feet. Folding again. You might have your feet closer together here now that the legs are warmer. Bend your knees and just hang. So I want to play around with just a little bit of outer hip and leg exploration with you. So pick up your left foot. Just pick it up. Cross the left ankle in front of the right, and then put the left foot down. So you just cross your ankles, and the left shin is closer to your nose. From here, experiment with walking your hands out to the left. And we'll just pause right there. So first of all, we want some bend in the knees. So bend your knees. And we want your head hanging down. And we also want a long neck. Okay, if you decide it's too much, you can back it up and bring your hands back to center. But if you're feeling pretty good, your palms are down, your knees are at just a nice bend that is comfortable for you, you can walk your fingers even to point at the back of the mat. So you'll deepen your little twist. Okay, notice how you feel in your right outer hip, the right side of your back. Breathe deeply as you hang and lengthen your spine. And take your time bringing the hands back into center. And we'll switch the crossing of the feet here. So left foot goes back under the left hip. This time the right ankle crosses in front. And now your ankles are crossed the other way. So remember, bend your knees, let your head hang. That's where we start. Maybe the hands walk so all fingers point at the right side of the mat. But keep bending in your knees and keep dropping your head. If you want to deepen the twist, the opening, you walk your fingers to point at the back of the mat, but keep the head down. Sometimes we get a little stressed in these postures and we find ourselves somehow needing to pick the head up, but allow it to hang. It's safe here. And as you're ready, bring it back in through center. Untangle your legs. And then from here, come down to hands and knees. Sit your hips to one side and come to a seat. So I'd like to get a little bit more into hips and into more of the back body. So we'll have a really great wringing out of back body, and this should be great for posture and just low back health in general. So from here in your cross-leg posture, pull your left foot over by your right hip and the right foot to the outside of the left knee so that you can begin to sit up tall, both hips very heavy on the ground. And just close your eyes here. Notice your long spine. Maybe both arms are starting to hug a little bit more on your right knee, pulling it in towards your heart. Maybe you stay here. Or maybe you deepen the twist using just the left arm this time. And the right fingers can push down on the floor behind you and actually lengthen your spine a little bit. Okay, a little more. If you want a little more opening, you take the left elbow to the outside of the right knee and deepen your twist that much more. So each inhale, you have a long spine. With each exhale, belly button moves to your spine, okay? Use your strong belly exhales here. Wringing out your spine. Massaging your organs and your back. Roll it back in through center. And if we take this right foot further out to the left, the knees will come a little bit closer. So maybe you even pick up your knees and just put them together with your hands. Okay, I see people pushing their knees toward each other. Just find some kind of way to get your knees close. And you might bring your feet in towards you. Okay? To make it more gentle. So start here, long spine, both hips on the floor. And if at any time you feel pain, just unhook your bottom leg and make it straight, okay? So from here, you might deepen the sensation in your outer hips by moving your feet away from you. But I wouldn't take them past your knees. With your fingertips on the ground, have a long spine. If you need to back out, just lean back. But if you want to lean into it and deepen the opening even more in your hips, Squeeze your legs toward each other and lean forward. So really finding some big opening in the hips. And we'll keep the legs like this for now. So always feel free to adjust them because we'll be spending a little bit more time with the lower body in this posture. So start out by walking your left hand over to the left. You can come up on your fingertips of the left hand and use that left fingertip pressed down to ground your right outer hip. And let's get the right arm up and reaching to the left. We'll just take a little time here. Push the floor down, ground your hips. Think of lengthening in the right side. So let's really stretch your back out. You ready? Go ahead and drop your right fingers by your left. Hold there. Use the fingers to push your hips down. And although your spine is curving, do your best to keep it long. Now imagine there is a circle around you, a big circle, and your tailbone is the center and your fingers are on the perimeter. Walk your fingers on the perimeter out to the front part of your circle. And let's breathe right here. Push down with your fingers, ground your hips. You can walk the hands further out. Who knows? Keep pushing down into your legs. And then we'll walk the hands out over to the right side of the circle. Take them as far as you like. Big breath into your back here. Push into your legs. Maybe one more breath right here. And finally reach up with that left hand, finishing off this little circle by reaching over to the right. Grounding that left hip. And then back up to center. You can lean back on your hands here, and maybe you help your legs out and you just pick them up and set the feet out in front of you. Shake out your hips. They might be feeling kind of noodly, and that is okay, as long as it feels good. You might get some pops. Okay, so let's do all of that on the other side. So from your windshield wiper, you can just take your right foot by your left hip, drop the right knee. Left foot crosses over to the outside of the right thigh. So we're starting off just sitting up straight. It's our first stop. Sit up straight, hips down, and close your eyes. Okay, at the beginning of this twist journey, we have no expectations, but start to lengthen your spine with each inhale. And drive your belly button to your spine with each exhale. Maybe deepen the twist by just the right arm using the leg. Okay, left fingers behind you. And take at least a full breath in and out at each stop along the way. Maybe deepen the twist further, right elbow to outer left knee. Long spine inhale. Belly button to spine, exhale. Maybe one more breath. And roll your twist back into center. And now we'll transition to that cow face posture. So get the knees close. You can start off with your feet close to your hips, just to make it easier. Sit down. Both hips need to be down, okay? And if you want a little more, walk your feet out away from you. Maybe level with your knees. So let's just hang out right here, sitting tall. And in postures where we're using a lot of hip tissue. We just let go of any expectations that we might have. Grounding your hips, attempting to start to press your legs toward each other and into the ground, maybe, if you want to really deepen that hip opening. Keep them active. We'll start the right fingers out to the right here. Pressing the left hip down, left arm up and over. Big breath into the left side. Push into the left hip. Okay, left fingers down on the perimeter of that big circle. Take a few breaths into your back. And keep pressing the legs down too. And start walking the hands around to the front part of the circle. Keep the spine long, even though it's curving. Legs pushed down. Walk your hands over to the left part of the circle. Breathe into your back. Do your best to lengthen in your spine. And then finish up with the right hand reaching overhead out to the left. And bring yourself all the way back to center here. Lean back on your hands. Again, maybe you pick up your legs and put them out front. Shake it out here. Let's take a few windshield wipers. And then tuck your hands behind your knees here. Roll all the way back. Get your legs up in the air. Maybe circle your ankles out. Trying out your knee bend. Okay, maybe do some figure eights with your ankles. And reverse them. And then see if you can do this really slowly. As slowly as you can, could you lower your legs back to the floor? Once your legs land, relax completely. Let go of all effort. Surrender all control over your breath, body, and mind. Let go of the jaw. Let your face melt. And feel your practice kind of swirling around in your body here. Allow yourself to rest and just be still and present. And cultivate a little moment of bliss. So please continue resting just like this for as long as you can. And this is where I will leave you today. So thanks so much for joining me.